Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be a video about the potential for an uptick in snowstorms and winter storms and just more active weather in the coming long range, and this is 100% true. The models are indicating storms. The European and the GFS are indicating more systems. GFS is a little bit more robust than the European, but neither really have been performing too well, really, in terms of the snowstorms. So it's really just a coin toss here when it comes to the weather models. Which one's better? Both have been miserable this year in terms of the past. I would say 2 to 3 weeks they've been pretty miserable, but nevertheless. We're finally getting some agreement, so that's good. So please consider subscribing if you would like to see more of this weather-related content. If you want to decide still, go ahead, watch the video, check out the channel, and consider for yourself. So consider liking the video as well. If you like my videos, just do it right off the bat. If you're new, consider checking it out. So right now we're looking at the GFS, and let's just take this one by one. This is the 18th Tuesday, December 10th time frame. This is getting recorded at 6:51 in the afternoon. So let's look again. I told you about the snow system in the southeast. Some locations got more snow than expected. Some locations got less, and that was kind of expected. There was a lot of locations that kind of missed out, but some that overachieved, and that basically occurs when this is so isolated and such an isolated event where it's really hard to predict. Maybe a couple of hours before the event, you could predict some of the stuff, and you have to see the actual event unfolding. But really, a couple days in advance is really tough. But right now, I'm pretty sure New York City is getting some rain, some snow, and along the East Coast. If not, then you'll probably soon change to snow. But generally, like I mentioned, not a strong system, but a nice little surprise. We get a blast of cool air, which is in effect right now. That kind of moves off to the north. We get a clipper coming through the northern Minnesota, North Dakota, and into the Wisconsin area this Thursday. That really moves off to the north. We give way to a pretty large system. It'll be moisture laden. That's kind of what I like to call it. I mean, it'll have a lot of moisture, mainly rain though for the northeast. Not a lot of snow, but this is where things get interesting. You can see this sets the stage for a colder air mass to come in, but it doesn't set in too powerfully, so it doesn't, result in a blocking pattern deflecting the storms. And conveniently, at the same time, we have a system that develops out of the Colorado and New Mexico mountains, so Colorado low. And this thing just erupts, and this would produce very heavy snow, very heavy rain, some severe weather. This would be as of Tuesday of next week. Will this occur? It's tough to say. I do think this will be occurring in some sort of fashion. Whether or not this will, the European has it more centered on the East Coast, while the GFS has it more in the Midwest area. The GFS had it yesterday in the East Coast. Now it has shifted to the Midwest. I'm not too sure about the placement of this. We're not even too sure if this is going to occur. But things are looking, I would say right now, 74% chance this will occur, and I mean basically 0% chance on the confidence of where this is. This isn't just where, Minneapolis may or may not get snow. Iowa will get more. I mean, we could be literally seeing no precip here at all while the Northeast gets it. And that's what the European is showing, Northeast system, while the GFS is showing more of this for the past several model runs. So that's at least good. It has been consistent. But so has the European in its own opinion, so that's a little bit tough. But notice this storm is pretty significant, leaves quite a bit of snow and ice across the northeast, and leaves us with a nice cool blast of air, potentially very cold air. So that is something to point out. Notice that after that, we actually get into even more active pattern. We get another system, which the GFS 1 model a run ago was showing a massive storm across the southern U.S. Now it just shows mainly ice across Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas. So that's not good for you snow lovers. If you like wintry weather, I mean, you could get freezing rain. That's about it. Maybe some sleet, which obviously was not as good at snow. But notice this kind of moves off, brings a wide swath. I mean, sorry about that voice crack, but it's a very, very wide and vertical swath of snow. As you can see, it extends all the way to Canada. And this one is more extended, elongated, and weakened. It's not as strong, but there's going to be some heavy snow rates if this storm actually occurs at this time frame. There could be some strong snowfall amounts. Where this will occur again, I mean, the probabilities of this occurring are there. They're pretty actually high, but the chances are pretty low. or sorry, the placement of the storm are low. The confidence in that, you can see, moves off into the northeast and kind of just fizzles out there. Then we see potentially another storm brewing in the New Mexico, east western Texas, and southern Kansas area. You can see this thing starting to turn into a beast. Really, you can see this would be a giant, possibly, system again. So overall, just large storms possibly heading towards the U.S. Obviously, what I just showed you is probably not what's going to happen to the exact point. There probably will be three separate systems. One may produce way more snow than the other. Maybe the second one will be a big one. Maybe the first one won't. Maybe the first one will. I mean, this is really up for change. And the placement of these storms are still really, really questionable. So let's look at the total snowfall out of the GFS. I mean, I'm going to warn you, it puts out ridiculous amounts of snow for the U.S. I mean, just insane amounts across the West and really large amounts across the Eastern U.S. I honestly don't think there will be this high amounts, but I do think that there's going to be more uptick in the snow. So if you're in the Ohio Valley, you have definitely an elevated chance of seeing snow in the next 10 chances, but I wouldn't say it's, high or anything of that sort, let alone almost a foot of snow. There's definitely going to be a few storms that are going to bring up possibility for some snow. It could be a frenzy of snows across the Midwest. It could be a frenzy across the Northeast, or it could be just, a couple of systems that are going to bring a little bit more snow than we've seen in the past. So that is really that. Let's look at the Canadian model. You can see they put out obviously a little bit less conservative, but it only goes out to 240, so less time frame. But I like this better, as this is more of a kind of a conservative amount, and it seems more realistic. But again, the Canadian isn't just the only model that is out there, but I feel like that's more closer to reality than what the GFS shows. So we get that that frontal system moves off. We get that clipper across the north, and if we put this into motion, we still get that. Remember that moisture laden system across the northeast. There could be, according to the Canadian, there could be a nice little system kind of developing right here, a band of snow, kind of almost like a deformation band, not connected one to this system, and this could actually bring some moderate to heavy snow across Saturday and Sunday across the Midwest, like Illinois, southern Wisconsin. We'll just have to keep watching that. The GFS doesn't agree with that. The Canadian does. The European doesn't. So it's tough to say. By the way, say hello to the clock. It's ringing again. And then notice it has that same system, a pretty similar placement actually to what the GFS does, which is surprising. But then it moves it off to the northeast coast a little bit further north, and the snowfall amounts seem to be lighter with this, not as strong. And if we look in the future, I think it starts developing. Well, it doesn't, but maybe the beginnings right here of a system. So that's I'll show you the European model next. So now this is a European model, and I want to quickly show you that if you look at this, notice that we see, again, that first system, pretty impressive across the East Coast, leaving some snow, maybe a little bit of light snow across northern Illinois this upcoming Wednesday, so tomorrow. Then we have that light clipper again. We have that moisture-laden system with lots of rain for northeast. Again, possibility of that snow across the northern Indiana, northern Illinois, possibly southern Wisconsin, southern Michigan. We'll definitely have to watch, as that could actually result in some heavier amounts than expected. So if you live in the northern Illinois or Chicago area, keep an eye on that. I probably won't be making a separate update about that, just because of the sheer size of that. It's small, but keep an eye out for that. It may actually produce some accumulating snow. Again, the European does show, though, however, that system relatively disorganized across the south. The European or the Canadian GFS have it further across the north. This one has it further across the south. We'll see what it does. I mean, it shows some decent snowfall rates, nothing ridiculous, but it definitely would be substantial. And if you look in the future, around this time frame, Friday, Thursday, Saturday time frame, the GFS has that next system developing, and the European doesn't really have much of anything across that. So pretty contrasting in that sense. But overall, at least they're agreeing on two storms, which is already pretty significant. And let's just look at the snowfall Kuchera amounts. That's probably a little bit closer to reality, though sometimes they overhype the amounts. Notice a good portion of it will be falling across. So a good portion of the snow will be falling across the northeast, though possibly a few inches again with that little tiny wave, I guess, across the Indiana area, which the European has it across those areas. Maybe a little bit across Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas, but definitely, the possibility for the snow is there. and it seems like there will be occasions, plenty of occasions. You could see that clipper on this upcoming Thursday and Friday actually leaves a good dose up to possibly 7 inches across northern Wisconsin. So northern Wisconsin, UP of Michigan, northern Minnesota, Duluth. If you live in Duluth and you're watching this video, hello. I don't know why I did that, but just hi. It seems cool that people would be watching from way up north, but I know that I have even viewers from Canada. But asides that, basically what I want to say is you could get actually the good amount of snow without even being overly from a giant storm. You could see up to 6-7 inches just from individual smaller events. In terms of this, the temperatures, the European definitely shows the cool offs, where the GFS shows the cool offs, just to a different extent, and not to the same volume and sheer volume as what the GFS is doing. But towards the end of the forecasting period, things get a little bit disagreeing around the 240 time frame, again, where the GFS shows a storm, the European doesn't. If you look at the 2 meter, let's look at the 2 meter temperature anomalies. I was looking for that for quite a while. Up until now, it's going to be pretty chilly. You could see relatively, you could see there's a cooler air mass. It's really cold right now across the country, and that maintains itself until the warm air pushes in, allows for that moisture-laden system to really intensify and produce maybe, possibly a little bit of snow in the backside of that. Let's wait for this to load. Basically, we get another cool off around this upcoming Sunday. You can see right there, it's almost like an Arctic little blast, not as significant as the one we've just seen, but definitely you can see -11, -10, -20s by here in terms of below in Fahrenheit, and at the beginning phases it could be almost -40 degrees in Fahrenheit. That kind of becomes more mixed. We get pockets of cool, pockets of warm, or warm right there, very warm across the southeast. Again, that is with another system developing, that second one, the one that would be affecting the northeast. Then we see potentially another Arctic air mass trying to make its way, but mainly just hits the northeast, while the west seems to be warming up at quite a big rate right here. And that leaves a little bit of concern, because if you look at the concern for snow lovers, obviously, because if you look at the 6 to 10 day outlook, they're showing quite a bit of warm air across that time frame, which, well, actually not this one, which is good because I was expecting they would. But the 8 to 14 outlook, they really increase so above average temperatures to quite a ridiculous amount. We'll see. Tough to say. European doesn't even go out that far, and the GFS is showing cooler. So I don't really know where they're getting this from. But again, it's a Climate Prediction Center. They could literally pull it out of nowhere, and people will believe them. So thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking the video. Consider subscribing to the channel. I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Love you. Bye.